The war in Ukraine continues to attract international attention as new developments continue to change the face of the conflict. Recent intelligence reports have revealed heavy losses among North Korean troops deployed on the front lines, with casualty rates as high as 60% in some units. This is the first time since the Korean War that North Korean troops have taken direct part in combat operations in Europe, raising questions about military strategy and the geopolitical implications of their presence. The growing losses of North Korean troops in Ukraine are becoming clear from intelligence reports from various sources. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that about 3,800 North Korean soldiers had been wounded or killed in fighting in the Kursk region. That represents nearly a third of the 12,000 North Korean soldiers deployed alongside Russian forces. According to official estimates from Ukrainian military intelligence, about 3,000 casualties were initially recorded in Kursk. However, updated reports indicate that Russia lost up to an infantry battalion, including North Korean soldiers and Russian paratroopers, in fighting around a village in Kursk. Ukrainian forces captured some North Korean soldiers, but most were seriously wounded and beyond repair. The grim reality of the battlefield comes into sharp focus as US intelligence reveals significant losses among North Korean troops. In just one harrowing week, 1,000 soldiers were reported wounded, including high-ranking officers. The desperation on the ground is underscored by reports of some North Korean soldiers tragically choosing suicide over the humiliation of capture. Yet, the full scope of these losses remains shrouded in uncertainty. Ukraine estimates 3,000 to 3,800 casualties, while US intelligence cites 1,000 within a single week, and South Korea places the total at around 1,100. These stark discrepancies highlight the chaos of modern warfare, where numbers become tools in strategic narratives, and the human cost is both immeasurable and undeniable. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine highlights a grim reality. Russian and North Korean military leaders are treating North Korean soldiers as expendable forces. These troops are repeatedly ordered into hopeless assaults on Ukrainian lines, resulting in devastating casualties and raising profound questions about the strategic calculations of both nations. Nowhere is this more evident than on the battlefield in Russia's Kursk region, a site of extraordinary complexity and challenge. The region's unique geography, marked by low-lying plains, juxtaposed with elevated terrain, has created significant tactical difficulties for North Korean soldiers, who are ill-prepared for such an environment. Russian forces' initial advances through the lowlands exposed their positions, leading to heavy losses and further complicating the situation. The roads around Koronevo, serving as critical logistical corridors for approximately 50,000 Russian and North Korean troops, underline the region's strategic importance. Yet, the combination of challenging terrain and the grim use of North Korean forces as cannon fodder underscores the high human cost of these military strategies, further illustrating the dire conditions on the front lines. North Korean soldiers have difficulty navigating the unfamiliar terrain. They face high-altitude defensive positions controlled by Ukrainian forces, limited access routes, and a complex network of settlements that require urban combat skills for which they are not yet fully trained. The unforgiving forces of nature have become a formidable adversary on the battlefield. Dense fog cloaks operations in uncertainty, obscuring visibility and shrouding movements in peril. Strong winds wreak havoc on advanced reconnaissance tools like drones, while relentless heavy rains transform the terrain into a quagmire, stalling any progress on the ground. These harsh conditions have eroded the combat effectiveness of North Korean troops, leaving them vulnerable and stretched thin. As winter's icy grip looms on the horizon, the situation threatens to spiral further into chaos, locking the conflict in a chilling state of stalemate and stagnation. The elements, it seems, have become an unyielding force in this brutal war. In addition to its natural challenges, the Kursk region is strategically important, especially in terms of terrain and military logistics. Ukrainian forces have stretched Russian defenses, forcing them to change their deployment strategy. Flexible internal communication lines, important infrastructure such as fuel depots and supply lines, and the potential to create a defensive buffer zone have made Kursk an important target in the conflict. The destruction of the main bridges and the Seam River crossing forced Russia and North Korea to adjust their supply lines, while Ukrainian forces continued to exploit the advantage of controlling the high ground. Although weather conditions temporarily reduced the effectiveness of drone combat, Ukraine maintained its tactical superiority. In this context, Kursk is not just a battlefield, but also a symbol of the challenges of modern conflict, where the parties must adapt and struggle to control the harsh conditions of nature and war. A stark and sobering contrast defines this battlefield. The glaring technological gulf between the opposing forces. North Korean troops, as intelligence reveals, often arrive ill-equipped, forced to rely on Russian weaponry and hardware to sustain their efforts. This dependency has compounded their struggles, exposing the vulnerabilities of those fighting without modern tools in an unforgiving, high-stakes conflict. In Kursk, where precision and technology shape the tide of war, such disadvantages underscore the harsh realities faced by those on the ground, caught in a battle where survival itself feels like an uphill fight. The field of drone warfare has particularly highlighted this disparity. North Korean troops have faced heavy casualties from Ukrainian unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, especially in open areas. Primitive counter-drone tactics, such as using human decoys, have proven ineffective against modern technology. Reports from Ukrainian forces indicate that North Korean troops often fire randomly at UAVs or continue to advance while completely exposed, making them easy targets for precision strikes. The impact of drone warfare on North Korean units has been severe, including heavy losses from direct piloted attack drones, FPVs, inability to effectively counter surveillance, and vulnerability to precision strikes in open terrain. In addition, the difference in modern combat equipment also puts North Korean soldiers at a major disadvantage. Their lack of experience in operating drones, limited electronic warfare capabilities, and outdated training methods make them unable to effectively counter the modern tactics employed by Ukraine. In the face of heavy losses, Russian forces were forced to set up additional positions to protect North Korean soldiers from drone attacks, a clear demonstration of the technological gap between the two sides. Integrating North Korean soldiers into the modern battlefield also faces many barriers. One of the biggest challenges is the language barrier, with only one interpreter for every 30 North Korean soldiers. This has severely affected battlefield coordination and response speed. In addition, they have had difficulty operating modern surveillance equipment, applying effective counter-drone measures, coordinating with Russian electronic warfare systems, and adapting to the advanced tactics used by Ukraine. The deployment of North Korean forces in Ukraine underscores both the strategic ambitions and the inherent limitations of this partnership. While reports from the South Korean National Intelligence Service reveal that North Korean troops are actively learning to operate drones and adapt to modern technology, their experiences highlight the steep challenges of integrating into contemporary warfare. Despite gaining rare exposure to advanced combat systems, the human cost remains staggering, underscoring the vulnerabilities of this force in a highly sophisticated conflict environment. This technological adaptation aligns with Russia's broader tactical recalibration. By restructuring its strategy to organize North Korean forces into distinct combat formations, Russia has introduced a significant shift in its approach. Intelligence reports indicate that at least 5 formations, each comprising 2,000 to 3,000 soldiers, have been established. These units operate in close coordination with Russian forces, emphasizing strategic concealment while attempting to bolster overall combat effectiveness. Together, these developments illustrate a calculated effort by both Russia and North Korea to maximize their operational synergy. However, the challenges posed by modern warfare, ranging from technological gaps to the high human toll, remain formidable, casting doubt on the long-term sustainability and effectiveness of this tactical partnership. The deployment of forces reflects a careful balance between operational effectiveness and strategic concealment. North Korean troops operate in specialized units, with the 11 Corps, or Storm Corps, playing a pivotal role. They coordinate closely with Russian forces and operate under a unified command system, aiming to maximize combat effectiveness on the battlefield. The Storm Corps is tasked with carrying out complex operations, such as sabotaging infrastructure, infiltrating enemy defenses, and carrying out assassination missions. In the Kursk border area, they assumed a primary infantry role. In addition, the force received additional training in artillery operations, drone use, basic infantry warfare, and trench clearing, expanding their diverse combat capabilities. The North Korean command structure is tightly organized with a clear chain of command. General Kim Yong-bok oversees the entire 11 Corps, while General Ri Chang-ho is in charge of reconnaissance and intelligence operations. Major General Sin Kum-chol is responsible for coordinating field operations. Under this system, North Korean officers maintain operational control while working closely with Russian commanders. The Reconnaissance Bureau, under the direction of General Ri Chang-ho, plays a key role in intelligence gathering and strategic planning. Military experts say that Kim Yong-bok's command role can be transferred to lower-ranking officers, depending on the practical requirements on the battlefield, demonstrating the flexibility of this command system. To effectively integrate the North Korean forces, Russia has established intensive training programs focusing on military doctrine, communication protocols, and familiarization with modern weapon systems. About 500 officers and 3 generals are directly supervising the operations of the North Korean formations, ensuring smooth coordination between the two forces. Deploying and organizing North Korean forces in Ukraine provides them with a unique opportunity to improve their combat skills and gain practical experience in a modern warfare environment. This tactical shift is intended to integrate them more effectively into Russian military operations, enhancing their abilities on the battlefield. However, the move comes with significant technological, tactical, and coordination challenges. These difficulties underscore the complexity of maintaining combat power in the harsh realities of modern conflict, particularly on the Ukrainian battlefield where high-tech warfare and rapid adaptability are paramount. At the same time, the escalating number of casualties among North Korean troops has placed unprecedented pressure on Russia's medical response systems. The specialized hospital wings set up in Kursk and near Moscow to treat the wounded are a direct result of this surge in casualties. These medical facilities, designed to handle North Korean soldiers exclusively, operate under strict security measures and restricted access, ensuring secrecy and control over sensitive information. The need for such arrangements not only highlights the scale of the casualties, but also reflects the broader challenges faced by Russian forces in managing both military and logistical support for North Korean troops in a modern combat environment. The integration of these forces into Russia's military structure is far from seamless, with the operational complexities extending beyond the battlefield to the medical response efforts required to treat the increasing number of wounded soldiers. In Kursk, military hospitals have become the primary treatment centers, with medical staff receiving specific instructions for handling North Korean patients. One facility saw 24 wounded soldiers arriving at dusk, occupying an entire floor under police guard. Meanwhile, critically injured troops are transported to specialized treatment facilities near Moscow, where reports indicate that around 200 soldiers were treated within a few days. The distribution of medical care across these locations reflects the gravity of the situation. In Kursk, more than 24 patients are treated per batch on police-guarded floors, while in the Moscow region, over 200 soldiers have been reported as receiving care under restricted access conditions. However, the medical response is severely hampered by language barriers and cultural differences. Medical staff report that communication with North Korean patients is virtually impossible without the aid of translators, a challenge exacerbated by the scarcity of translation services. Currently, there is one translator available for every 30 soldiers, and the prohibition of English in the hospitals further complicates interactions. These difficulties have led to frustrations among medical personnel, with some noting significant challenges in patient identification and coordination of care. In response, hospital administrators have implemented strict protocols to ensure that translators are available and communication is streamlined. The surge in casualties has also forced hospitals to reallocate resources, dedicating entire floors and assigning specialized medical personnel to treat the wounded North Korean soldiers. This has impacted the care available to Russian troops. With medical facilities increasingly stretched to meet the needs of both groups, the need for additional security measures and translation services has further strained the system. Despite these efforts, many of the wounded North Korean soldiers arrive with severe injuries and minimal protection, and reports from Ukrainian President Zelensky suggest that a significant number do not survive due to the limitations of medical care. The strain on Russia's medical response system is intensifying as hospitals struggle to manage North Korean casualties in Ukraine. Medical staff must not only provide care under challenging conditions, but also adhere to strict secrecy protocols. In some cases, Entire hospital sections have been reorganized on short notice to accommodate the influx of casualties, highlighting the logistical pressures involved. At the same time, psychological trauma is taking a heavy toll on North Korean troops. Combat stress and cultural isolation have led to severe mental health impacts, exacerbating the difficulties these soldiers face. This combination of physical and psychological challenges is further burdening Russia's medical system, complicating efforts to care for the wounded. The intensity of combat operations in Ukraine has led to extreme psychological responses among North Korean soldiers, with many showing signs of severe stress and trauma. Analysts report numerous instances of soldiers taking their own lives following failed assaults, reflecting the toll of constant pressure. Several factors contribute to the high levels of stress among these troops. Combat trauma, including the risk of severe PTSD, is a significant concern, as is the emotional burden of failed missions that often lead to suicidal tendencies. In addition, many soldiers fear reprisals against their families, creating a constant state of anxiety and distress. Battlefield deaths further contribute to the psychological isolation of these soldiers, who are left grappling with the harsh realities of modern warfare in an unfamiliar environment. Cultural isolation compounds these stress factors, creating a profound sense of disconnection for North Korean troops. Language barriers are a major challenge, with soldiers typically possessing only a basic understanding of Russian military terms, limiting their ability to communicate effectively with their Russian counterparts. Furthermore, North Korean soldiers have minimal interaction with the local population and restricted access to outside information, intensifying their sense of isolation. Constant surveillance by North Korean overseers further heightens this disconnection, leaving these soldiers trapped in a bubble of cultural and psychological isolation. The shock of exposure to modern warfare, particularly for soldiers coming from a closed society, amplifies their struggles with adapting to the brutal realities of the conflict. The deterioration of morale is another significant concern. Intelligence reports indicate widespread heavy drinking among North Korean soldiers during events such as New Year's celebrations, a behavior often linked to deeper psychological struggles. Several morale-depleting factors contributed to this decline, including the mass casualties within their units, with over 3,000 soldiers reported dead or wounded in the Kursk region. The exposure to constant Russian propaganda about the importance of their mission, coupled with the deliberate underreporting of casualties by Russian commanders, only serves to deepen the soldiers' sense of disillusionment. Additionally, many North Korean troops lack the combat experience and preparation necessary to navigate the challenges they face on the battlefield, further eroding their morale. The psychological impact of this deployment extends beyond the individual soldiers and affects their families back home in North Korea. Counselors report that these families experience intense anxiety and helplessness, unaware of the true conditions their loved ones are facing. The soldiers' trauma is compounded by their thorough indoctrination, which prevents them from processing their experiences in psychologically healthy ways, creating a cycle of emotional distress that is difficult to break. In sum, the combination of combat stress, cultural isolation, and morale challenges creates a deeply troubling psychological environment for North Korean troops in Ukraine. Experts predict long-term trauma effects, with these soldiers lacking the necessary psychological support systems to heal from their experiences. This situation reflects not only the human cost of the conflict, but also the profound toll it takes on individuals caught in a war they were ill-prepared to face. At the same time, the deployment of North Korean troops in Ukraine raises significant legal and international concerns. With an estimated 11,000 to 12,000 soldiers operating under Russian command, the situation creates unprecedented challenges for the global community. This deployment not only violates multiple international laws, including those related to the treatment of prisoners of war and international sanctions, but also poses serious implications for the broader legal frameworks governing military engagements. Together, these factors highlight the complex and multifaceted nature of the conflict, where both human and legal considerations intersect in troubling ways. The treatment of North Korean prisoners of war is governed by the Third Geneva Convention of 1949, which requires specific protections for POWs. Ukrainian authorities are obligated to uphold these rights, including providing medical treatment and ensuring proper repatriation procedures. However, the situation becomes complex as these troops are under Russian command, wearing Russian uniforms and may not fit neatly into the traditional framework of prisoner protection. The classification of these soldiers has sparked a legal debate. Some experts, including South Korea's defense minister, have suggested they could be considered mercenaries. Moreover, the deployment of these troops violates several international legal frameworks, including UN Charter provisions and international sanctions against North Korea. The United States has stated that if these troops engage in combat, they will become legitimate military targets. This stance aligns with the broader legal obligations of both Russia and North Korea to comply with international humanitarian law, including the prohibition of assisting in serious violations of such laws. The deployment of North Korean troops in Ukraine not only violates UN Security Council Resolution 2270, which restricts North Korea's military activities, but also undermines international efforts aimed at containing North Korea's military and nuclear programs. This breach has sparked significant international concern, highlighting the destabilizing impact on both regional and global security. The situation underscores the complexities involved in enforcing international sanctions and maintaining the integrity of international law when such violations occur. The broader strategic context is shaped by the growing military relationship between Russia and North Korea. The signing of a comprehensive defense treaty in June 2024 between the two nations marks a pivotal shift in their cooperation, with profound implications for the Ukraine conflict and global security. This alliance has intensified military collaboration, further complicating the already tense international landscape and adding another layer of challenge for efforts to uphold sanctions and legal frameworks. The military collaboration between Russia and North Korea has extended well beyond initial weapons supplies. Through the establishment of a strategic comprehensive partnership, the two nations have solidified their ties with significant agreements. These include mutual defense obligations under a defense treaty signed in June 2024, military aid packages, artillery supplies, and troop deployments. Notably, North Korea has been provided with approximately 7,000 tons of military equipment and over 5 million artillery shells, alongside the deployment of about 10,000 soldiers. In return, North Korea receives around $2,000 per soldier monthly, generating substantial revenue for the regime. For Russia, the partnership offers access to crucial military resources amid international sanctions. The cooperation has also had a profound impact on the security landscape of the Korean peninsula. Intelligence reports from South Korea suggest that this alliance could destabilize regional power structures. It affects key areas such as strategic positioning in East Asia, military technology transfer, nuclear deterrence, and regional alliance structures. What was once an isolated North Korea is now gaining access to advanced military technologies and combat experience through its partnership with Russia. Additionally, Pyongyang is set to benefit from discounted energy supplies and missile technology components from Moscow. Looking ahead, the evolving relationship suggests significant long-term strategic implications. Russia is expected to assist North Korea in modernizing its submarine fleet, developing satellite technology, and enhancing its nuclear and missile capabilities. This growing collaboration could shift military alliances in Asia, with both nations pledging mutual military assistance in the event of an armed invasion. They have also committed to strengthening their defense capabilities to prevent war, signaling a continued deepening of their strategic ties. The partnership extends beyond military matters, with Russia also pledging to support North Korea in bypassing international sanctions and developing payment systems independent of Western control. This has implications for the broader global security architecture. The United States has warned that it will closely monitor Russia's assistance to North Korea, while South Korea has raised concerns about the potential transfer of advanced military technology that could alter the regional balance of power. Ultimately, the growing cooperation between Russia and North Korea marks a significant shift in global geopolitical dynamics, with the potential to reshape military alliances and security structures far beyond their immediate region. This deepening partnership not only elevates the stakes in the Ukraine conflict, but also signals a more intricate and evolving alignment in international relations. South Korea's contemplation of increasing its support for Ukraine further underscores the growing complexity of the situation and the potential for shifts in long-standing policies. How do you think this evolving alliance might influence the broader balance of power in the region and the international community?